Like an Arctic storm blowing out there. Come along, Polly, my child, and my cloak.
Gosh, Doctor, you've got the most fantastic wardrobe.
Yes. You don't know what we're in for outside there. Pretty soon we shall be having visitors.
You're different. You've got no feelings.
I do not understand that word.
Emotions, love, pride, hate, fear.
Have you no emotions, sir? Hello everybody, I am Ace Creeper and today I'm back with a brand new video. Today we are reviewing a big episode. It's my first Hartnell era episode. Yes, we're going to do the whole thing in black and white. I thought it'd be something to test. If you like it, let me know in the comments. If you don't, please let me know in the comments. And we'll try and change it up for next time if you don't like it. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with this for now, though. I'm very, very happy. As you can see, I got my sort of semi-Hartnell get-up on. Again, it's not accurate, but it's better than my McCoy outfit. So, hey, I'm happy with it. Today we are reviewing not only one of the most iconic stories in Hartnell's run, but one of the most iconic stories in the whole of Doctor Who. The first ever Cyberman story. To introduce the Cybermen for the first time, the concept of them, the fear of them, and what made them an iconic villain to this date. And also the concept of regeneration. This is the first classic regeneration story I've watched, and it was exciting, because there was so much riding on this, and as a fan of the Mondasian Cybermen anyway, from World Enough and Time and the clips I'd seen from the 10th Planet, I was buzzing going into this. I was very, very excited, so them high expectations were up there, and let's find out if they were met. Today we're reviewing the 10th Planet, and that's that. We're going to do the same thing as we do with most classic reviews, talk about the TARDIS team, break the story down into two halves, talk about each half, positives, negatives, that sort of thing, break down the characters, and then we're going to give this story, whatever, a final rating at the end. First of all, the TARDIS team. William Hartnell's the first Doctor, alongside Polly and Ben. Two new companions who I'd never seen on screen before. So again, very, very exciting. Some new stuff to go from. Not just the Cybermen, but some new, friends, companions, etc. I have seen a Hartnell story before, so it wasn't my first sort of rodeo with the big man himself. But again, it was something new. It was something a bit different. I'd only seen sort of the first episode from An Unearthly Child and the Dalek Invasion of Earth. So it would be, it was nice to see this episode, because I've only seen bits of it, to see how it actually plays out. So yeah, talking about part 1, episodes 1 and 2. I really liked it. The TARDIS team arrive at the South Pole on Earth, pop into this little base, which is like a sort of mini version of NASA, controlling a spacecraft. Contains 2 people. They're sort of flying around the solar system, and they come across the discovery of another planet. A planet that looks almost identical to Earth in almost every way. It's called Mondas. It's the twin planet of Earth, and is home to, of course, the Cybermen. They discover this and they work out a pod is landing on Earth at the South Pole from Mondas. This obviously got me very excited. I was like, oh my god, we're going to see this. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. Big fan of the Mondasian Cybermen, can't wait. And I was expecting them to go really creepy and a bit weird with it and go very sort of 60s vibe with it. But no, when someone from this sort of space base decided to go out and have a look at the TARDIS and try and get in, and he couldn't, a Cyberman approaches him from behind, and instead of, like, kind of creeping him out or whatever, or saying anything, that's it, dead. And I love that. I thought it was dead funny. It just caught me completely off guard. I was like, whoa, okay, I wasn't quite expecting that. But hey, I liked it. I thought it was a good part of it. I quite enjoyed it as an introduction to the new Cybermen as well. The Cybermen in general. The Cybermen detail that they are like the humans, but they're upgraded. They have no emotions. They have, very limited bodily functions, but they are able to last and live longer and survive. And to do that, what they're going to do is, because Mondas is sort of breaking apart, getting destroyed, they're going to drain energy from Earth and feed it to Mondas. Earth will then die and all the people on it will die, but Mondas will survive. Happy for the Cybermen, their home isn't destroyed, etc. But everyone on Earth will die, and they don't care about that. And that is the great way of introducing the concept of not having emotion, not having feelings, because that's a main part of like the second episode, where it really details in, like, Polly is arguing back and forth with the Cybermen, like, but you don't have feelings. Do you not understand? Like that's horrible. Why would you want to commit genocide? Why would you not care about that? The Cyberman puts off some pretty damn good points. Like, it explains itself. It's not just a sort of bog standard robot like it is in the new series. It is just a person who has been upgraded, and that is honestly scary. But I like it. I think it works really well, and I was really happy with the way they went with that concept. Honestly, I really do like it. Anyway, the Mondasian Cybermen make their own way in, and they start talking, and we'll talk about the voices again properly towards the end, but my god, what an introduction. Scary, creepy, just everything about them just off completely, and I love that. Towards the end of the first part of the story, Ben gets one of those big cyber units and kind of shoots the rest of the place up. The Cybermen that have invaded the South Pole are destroyed, but there's more on the way. They want to protect their planet, so they're going to try and come in there. Which leads us straight into part 2 very nicely. In episode 3, the Doctor falls ill, suddenly, like that, which is a shame. And obviously the reason why is because William Hartnell was obviously ill at the time of filming, at the time of recording. You know, they planned the regeneration story because he wasn't well anyway. So this was just in conjunction with that, which is a shame, really. But there's no explanation given to it, which makes me think it was just kind of a script addition at the last minute. That maybe one of his characters was swapped out for like Polly or something, who kind of takes more of a lead focus in episode 3. Which is a shame because, you know, in Hartnell's last story, I did want to see a bit more of him, you know, be the Doctor. Thankfully, we got that in episode 4, which we'll get on to. The Doctor falls ill and doesn't wake up till episode 4. The Cybermen try and save themselves rapidly, panicking. A new invasion fleet lands, sort of showing up, and they try and start negotiations. The Doctor in episode 4 kind of arises and goes, right, okay, I want to negotiate with you. You do not destroy the planet, you don't kill anyone, that sort of thing. And the Mondasian Cybermen are like, nope, you've got a missile aimed at Mondas. You're not doing anything until you take that missile down. Inside the base, you got little fractions of people who are like, okay, let's rebel against these because we can take them out. We know how to. Deathly irradiation, which is interesting. Again, another really interesting thing. Like, it would have been really cool to see that implemented into World Enough in Time or The Doctor Falls. The idea of radiation being able to simply kill the Cybermen like that, especially the Mondasian Cybermen who haven't appeared since this story. So it's a shame like concepts like that are really strong parts of this story weren't weaved into previous ones. But yeah, big fan of this. I really liked that element of it. It was a proper one-on-one. Like, you didn't know who was going to win this. Was it how many people were going to die? How many Mondasian Cybermen were going to die? And it came to the point where the Cybermen were pretty much winning, and because it drained too much energy from the Earth, Mondas just went into a white ball and just kind of blew up. It faded to exist and it just melted. Mondas as a planet melted, which is a strange concept, but I liked it. And followed by that, all the Cybermen just drop. Just the suits remaining, the sort of skin of the... it was weird and wonderful. And I think that's what I can really describe the 10th Planet as, that it has a few elements that drag overall, sort of around episode 3 where Hartnell's not there, but it really excels in every scene with the Doctor and every scene with the Cybermen. Those are the big moments. On top of that, you've got stuff with Ben. I thought Ben was great and he did a great job at like all the sort of rebellious stuff. Polly can hold her own, and the interesting scenes with them were really good. The one thing that really annoyed me about this was that the massive amount of focus on the captain and the captain's son. It's like, I wanted to care for him, but I just didn't care because he was just a pain in the backside. He was genuinely like irritating. But it was nice to see the Doctor talk down to him because he kind of deserved it, and you know, it was in that and I quite liked that. But again, I'm trying to think of what else to talk about in this story. We'll get onto the concept of regeneration in just a minute, but yeah, in terms of the last half and the rest of the story, it's kind of a back and forward. Like, Cybermen are winning, humans are winning, Cybermen are winning, humans are winning, and it kind of backfires back and forward, and I like that because it gives that unpredictability of who's going to survive this. We don't actually know. So in the end, Hartnell gets taken to the Mondasian Cybermen ship where he's kind of locked up, and when the Cybermen and Mondas have all melted, Ben opens up the cages, the prison cells, and lets the Doctor and Polly free. The Doctor looks delirious, he's weary, and that wonderful line, and honestly it is a wonderful line where he's like, oh, it's all over now, come on, and Hartnell just walks out and he's like, it's far from being all over, and I love that. It's such a very, it's weird because I watched it even though I knew what was happening, even though I knew what was coming, and I completely understand the concept of it because I've, you know, grown up with it since series 1 with Eccleston regeneration. But seeing this for the first time, I had to imagine what it would be like to be a child in the 60s watching that, and for the first time going, what's the matter with him? This isn't the Doctor. What's he doing? What's the matter? Why is he so careless? Why has he been speaking in riddles and stuff? Oh my god, the suspense. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, I know what's happening, but it's still like, oh, what's he going to say next? You know? How are they going to explain this? And he doesn't. He goes back to his TARDIS. He doesn't say goodbye. Opens the doors for Ben and Polly to jump in the TARDIS. Flies the TARDIS away. And lies down on the floor. A big bright white light covers his face. Only slightly, leaving a little bit left. Which then fades out, showing Patrick Troughton. Before fading into the Doctor Who closing theme. And my god, what a way to do it. I was thoroughly impressed with it. And I think that's the best part of the story. All the bits with Cybermen, all the bits with the Doctor, and the regeneration, I think, genuinely. But yeah, I think I've kind of summed that up mostly. I've kind of cobbled around a few words, so yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, generally, quite enjoyable episode with a few little elements in it that annoyed me a little bit, but nothing, you know, not even things worth mentioning, just like general characters like the Captain, general bits that just didn't have the Doctor in it, but that can't be helped when it was a genuine illness that he had. But talking of which, let's go into characters. The Doctor, William Hartnell's incarnation of the Doctor, my god. Now, I said I've watched The Unearthly Child, episode 1. I've watched Dalek Invasion of Earth. This is by far the best I've seen him. He's so perfect. It's like he's refined from back then. At this point, he's lost companions, and especially towards the end of the episode, he knows what's going to happen next, and I really, really like it. I really, really like his acting. He's a wonderful actor, and you can tell he's such a charming, charming old man, and I love it. I really love him as the Doctor, and I have to say, he's up there. He's up there as, like, again, one of my favourites. I really, really like him. I have this sort of passion for that specific Doctor, the way he looks, the way he acts. Every little slight glint of the eye, the sort of smile ever so slightly struck upon his face. Every little element of this man's performance was exquisite and on point and just brilliant. And considering he was ill, considering he was fighting that, he kept going, and he pulls off a wonderful last story for his character. And my God, he did a great job. I love the first Doctor. I really, really do. Ben! I liked Ben. I thought he was canny. That's another thing. He did a few things in this story, mainly sort of the rebellious stuff, kind of crawling through an air duct vent thing, fixing up the missile. Like, he did quite a few things, one of which actually knocking down the first Cyberman and stealing the sort of gun section of it and kind of using that to fight off the first wave of Cybermen. So yeah, I quite liked him. I thought he was very kind of courageous. I thought he was a very good companion. Didn't come across as annoying in the slightest, and yeah, I want to see more of him, which is always good for a companion. Talking of companions, we've got Polly as well, who I think was not as good as Sarah Jane Smith, but slightly better than Ace for me. I know that's probably a controversial one, but I talked about that in my Remembrance review. I probably want to see more of Ace first before I make a final judgment, but Polly generally straight away, a very independent female companion who did throw a lot of questions forward. Didn't have too much character. I would like to know a bit more about her, but I really like how she kind of held her own against, like, the Cybermen and the generals and the army, and they all did something, you know. The companions weren't just sitting about waiting for the Doctor to do something. This is very much a companion-focused story because William Hartnell was so ill, and I love that because you got to see more of that, and you got to see more of what they can do. I don't know if that's what it was like all over 60s Doctor Who, but my God, it impressed me here. I loved it. The Cybermen. Oh, man. Oh, I love them even more, the Mondasian ones. One of my favourites of all time anyway. I think my favourite on the list that I did was the 2017 Mondasian ones, and I think it probably still is, just down to the design and the sort of upgrade of this, but the initial concept is brilliant. I love their voices. They're so creepy and off-putting, and it's just so loud and pitch. It's just, everything about it is so wrong, yet it works so well, and I think there's nothing better than that. The voice is perfect. The look isn't perfect. I mean, it's got sellotape around its head for starters. It doesn't look great, and it has dated a little, but it still works. I didn't for one second think, oh, it's just a man in a suit. I thought, that is an upgraded human, and that's what they look like, and that's really creepy as a concept, and it just works incredibly well. And finally, the human characters. I really like the human characters. Majority of them were alright. Majority of them were enjoyable. I didn't think that they were the best thing in the world, but hey-ho, you can't have everything fleshed out. I thought they were enjoyable, and I thought they were a good balance of the story, and you kind of needed them there. But other than that, you know, they weren't the main focus or the main enjoyment of this episode. There was no specific human character that stood out for me, other than the General, who just stood out as more of an annoying character. That was probably his job, so I appreciate that, you know, in all senses of it. But yeah, you know, they were fine. There was nothing majorly special that I want to talk about them. And finally, before I go, I do want to mention, obviously, that the fourth part of this story is missing, and I do hope that one day some sort of BBC archive does find it. You know, buried somewhere in the Philippines or whatever. I hope they do find it, and I hope they are able to make it and add it to this final part, because the first 3 episodes, perfectly fine, perfectly restored, perfectly normal episodes, and the fourth part has a few different versions. I haven't watched all of the different versions, but I only watched the animated one, and I would definitely recommend watching the animated one. I think it is definitely by far one of the better versions out there. I was impressed by it. I thought it was great animation. It was a great addition to it. And because of all that, you know, I think there's some general moments in the 10th Planet that I really like. I really appreciate the animation skill that went into the final part. There are bits of it that just drag a little bit. That's just me, and that's just the concept of classic stories that I'm still kind of breaking into myself. But overall, I thought it was a wonderful story. I thought it was a very nicely put together story. I thought it was great. I'm going to put it slightly above Remembrance, but nowhere near as good as Genesis. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this Classic Who review. Hopefully we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with another one, so please do leave your suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to read them and put them on my list if I've got them, and kind of try and, you know, work my way through them, hopefully. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and honestly a one that I'd recommend, so if you haven't already seen the 10th Planet, go and watch it. If you have, what did you think about the 10th Planet? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, comment below for any more suggestions in the future, subscribe, and with notifications on if you haven't already. Check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel, and the Discord server for some just general sort of Doctor Who conversation and talk. Come and talk about the 10th Planet, why not? I can talk about it now. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.